If you have a Tesla Model 3 or Model Y, stick around because I'll compare all main instrument clusters you can buy right now to help keep your eyes on the road while driving. First, let's go ahead and talk about packaging. With the exception of the X1, all products are packaged a very similar way. They come with a box with foam inserts. It's got user manual that talks about product dimensions and product features. You have the pass-through connector, which is the main interface to the car's electronics. The actual product is attached with a long wire. It also has a plastic pry tool, and then lately newer products also come with a USB thumb drive so you can update the firmware in the future. You might be wondering why install this kind of digital instrument cluster at all, since there are a lot of aftermarket options available right now for the Model 3 or Model Y. In fact, most of the other options have bigger screens, they have more advanced features, and some even have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration. So you ask yourself, why would someone choose this unobtrusive, simple to install product that retains that minimalistic look and feel of their Teslas? Well, you guessed it. It's unobtrusive, simple to install, and it retains that minimalistic look and feel of the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Now, before I continue, I thought it's interesting to highlight that although there are 4 separate products here, they seem to be made by 2 separate companies only instead of 3. So these products on the left, it's very obvious it's made by Yonsei. However, with the X1 and X2, it's not really clear aside from sharing a similar product naming convention. But if they were made by the same company, that's one big product leap. Now let's talk about dimensions. This metric is very important because we're putting this product directly where it blocks the airflow from the aircon. So in this case, smaller is better. So you can see here how the X2 pretty much trumps everyone in terms of length and height. And later on we'll find out if there are any compromises due to its small size. But you know what they say, it's not the size, it's how you use it. So before connecting any of these devices, let's go ahead and power down the system. And to do that, just go to Safety, scroll to the bottom, and tap Power Off. Then go ahead and connect the product using the supplied pass-through connector. In my case, since I'm testing several products at once, I've connected them in daisy chains. To get this comparison started, let's have a close look at the type of material each of these products use for their front screen. Now let's start with this Yonsei siblings. As you can see here, these are basically the same type of material. It has that shimmering effect, and underneath you can see clearly the cutout display. It's not so much visible on the minimalist series, but on the original Yonsei you can clearly see those cutout numbers and icons. Then moving on to the X1 and X2 side of the family, again very similar. It has that same glossy finish. The display segments are not visible at all, at least for the X1. However, for the X2 you won't see any of those display segments because it uses a small LCD to show the numbers and icons, which makes it really fully flexible and truly expandable. Because with the right programming, it can display pretty much anything that goes through the pass-through interface. And the product similarities doesn't stop from the screen. It's also evident on the connectors. This is the X1, this is the X2, this is the first generation Yonsei, and this is the second generation Yonsei. I've got all the 4 instrument clusters that are available to the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, and I'm gonna run them through some testing. The one on the top is the first generation Yonsei. I haven't been using that because one of the Tesla software updates broke the functionality. I was using for a time this toolmaker. It served me well. The display is pretty good. But then the Yonsei version 2 or the minimalist series came around. As you can see, it's slightly smaller, the numbers much bigger, and it's a bit brighter. But then this new VX2 came around. I just got this yesterday and it's tiny, and I'm gonna run through some use case here. I'm going to drive around. I'm actually going to go to the supermarket and get some milk, and I'm just going to go around and see what it's like. And finally, I'll do an air conditioning airflow test, whether it still blocks the airflow. Let's talk about indicators. Here's a side-by-side comparison of all the available indicators per product. I got this information either from the product website or the user manual. Feel free to pause this video or screenshot this page if you want to refer to this information later. So that's part showing the percentage and the range. It's 89%, that's correct. But in here, it's actually showing 381. Maybe it's a bit of a truncation and rounding. It looks like the VX2 from Joycar is showing the exact same thing. That's what was what the Tesla computer is saying. Now if I put myself on drive, then it switches to a different mode. So now it's showing the speed, the gear we're on, and the hold. We'll drive around and see what how it behaves. So here goes my first drive with all the 4 instrument clusters sitting on the dash. You can see a bit of a difference there, some lag. So definitely the VX2 is lagging slightly a bit. It's stuck on 9. The VX2 is really clean, and there's not a lot of distraction on the display. It's just showing the speed. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's noticeable, but you can see a red line under the speed there. It's showing, I think that's meant to display whether we're consuming energy or doing regen, and I thought that's a quick, cool, neat feature. The other neat feature is the indicator has an animated display, so it's not just blinking green, but it's sort of animated in the direction you're going. It's kind of slow for my liking, but it's it's a nice trick. I guess all that information is going through the canvas, and it's just a matter of interpreting that data and showing it in the display. Now in this case, I think the biggest advantage in terms of how they package this and deliver and execute, that is the small display there. The VX2 uses like an LCD screen instead of pre-cut numbers, so it it has more options in terms of what it shows up on the display. In terms of visibility, it's actually brightly illuminated. So now the car has switched to dark mode. Not sure how is it like driving in broad daylight. I'll do some tests later on. So we're just gonna park here. I'm gonna go grab some milk because I need milk to make coffee. Just bought milk from the supermarket, and I'm just gonna drive back home. As you can see, it's a bit dark outside already. And in terms of quality, it's okay. You can see the turn indicator there. I'm kind of moving a bit slow. I'm just waiting here, and it's, yeah, would have been nice if that is quicker. But what I do like is the Regen power consumption indicator. See that red line under the speed? Actually changes the length depending on how much power you're using up, and it turns green if you're regenning. And now maximum regen there. Well, not really maximum, but can see clearly it's doing a regen, nice and bright. It's not really green, more like a turquoise color. So we're just turning in. But I mean, with the packaging, how small it is, I'm gonna use it. The other thing is that if you open the door, it would show up the open door indicator, but it also shows up the temperature. And now if you can see there, it's 17 degrees and 17 degrees on the display as well. So neat trick. I guess before you step out, you know what's the temperature outside. The good thing about having a full LCD screen on the X2, apart from that modern look and feel, is the ability to show you which of the doors are open. Unlike the Yonzi Minimalist, which only has one door open indicator, the X2 has a door open indicator for each of the doors in the car. Let me show you. Opening the rear passenger door. Then I'm gonna open the boot. And then the frunk. And then the front passenger door. Next, let's talk about the steering wheel position indicator. It sounds really cool, but I don't know in what scenario you will need to find out using this display that your steering wheel is not centered even though the physical steering wheel is directly in front of you. So sorry, I'm not buying this feature, so please replace it with something more useful. Leave a comment down below and let me know what feature you'd rather have instead of this. Let's now check how much airflow will be interrupted after we install these products in the vent. As you can see here, there's a good amount of airflow right now. I've got the airflow pointed up and center, so let's start with the smallest, the X2. As you can see, the airflow coming through the middle section has weakened dramatically, but it looks like the top left and top right airflow is roughly the same, maybe only by a small amount. So right now it's positioned at the center, but since this product is so small, I can actually move it slightly off center without noticing it too much. So keeping the airflow direction the same, but moving the X2 to the left, you can see that more airflow now passes through the middle. Then if you change the airflow direction to front and center, you can see there's even further improvement. Nothing else will beat the X2 on this test because they're all substantially bigger, but I want to humor myself, so let's try the Yonzi Minimalist. So this is what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like after. Airflow is almost completely gone apart from the slight twitch on the top right and top left. Next, let's look at display quality and how readable they are in different ambient lighting conditions. By the way, the flickering you see in this video is not really obvious in real life. It's just because the refresh rate of my camera as I was shooting a video was not in sync with the refresh rate of each of the displays in these products. And that's what you see in this video, unfortunately. But if you notice, the intensity of the X2 during daylight conditions is a bit weaker compared to the others, especially in heavy sunlight. Some might find it difficult to read. Unfortunately, unlike the Yonzi Minimalist, the brightness level of the X2 display doesn't adjust automatically with the ambient light. But hopefully that feature can be added as a simple firmware upgrade. So in order to minimize any disruption to the airflow coming out of this aircon vent, rather than just insert the cable haphazardly, I'm gonna do some cable management. I'm gonna tuck this wire underneath to minimize any disruption to the airflow. So what I have here is I marked where the center point is, and I'm gonna terminate the wire right about that point. So in order to do that properly, I'm gonna have to remove this dashboard trim. I've already removed the side panels here. Just push that up, and then go to the other side and do the same thing. Just pry that up. And then from here, just carefully pull slightly in front and lift up at an angle. Make sure you don't hit the glass and the screen. So I now have the dashboard trim on a table on top of a beach towel to protect it from scratches. I now have the center line here, and I also have the X2, and the wire should terminate here. So I'm going to wrap it around, give it a bit of slack so I can actually pull it or move it around when I want to. So let's just turn that over. So this is where roughly the middle point is. So I'll route this wire through here and just tape that along. So it's gonna come up here. In order to minimize or prevent any damage to the instrument cluster, just disconnect it, set that aside, and just work on this cable. It's a USB-C interface, so apparently you can plug this in using a USB-C cable, and supports firmware upgrade. Just in case one of the Tesla software updates breaks the functionality, the manufacturer can send out a firmware upgrade if needed. So I'm gonna lay down the cable all the way up to the third Velcro. So 1, 2, 3. Lay it down because that's gonna give me enough length to go all the way to the midpoint there and have a bit of slack if I need to move it around. So I've measured that. That's probably so roughly from the third Velcro all the way to the edge. It's roughly 42 centimeters. So I'm gonna lay this on top here, and I'm gonna secure that with some fabric tape. Hopefully that's enough. In terms of the wire at the end of the dashboard, I'm just gonna leave it up to here for now because we'll need to fish the other end through later on, and I'll show you how it's done. So in order to promote adhesion, make sure to clean this area. Use a alcohol cleaning wipes to get rid of all the dust. Okay, so I've attached a double-sided tape on the back of the wire, and then I had a fabric tape sort of secure that against this trim. So if you look at the other side now, the wire sort of terminates there. So hopefully this will work. I think this will be pinched at that point a bit, and the foam will probably get pinched. So I'm not sure what kind of effect that one has. Maybe I need to cover this or line this up with a thicker foam. So I think this foam is meant to stop the air from coming underneath the trim, so it sort of goes over the trim. I think that's enough slack. Oh. So I'm satisfied with that. I'm not sure whether that's going to hold because this one is under constant direct sunlight. So I'm not sure that's going to hold. If it doesn't, I might need to reattach that, but it's not going to go anywhere. So I think that should be okay. It's contained within this channel here, and this is pressed against the piece in the dashboard anyway. So I think that should be good. So let's go ahead and attach this back in the car. When handling this dashboard, make sure to avoid touching any of those foam pieces because they're a bit delicate and you don't want to dislodge it. So now I'm just gonna slowly slide this back in the dashboard. So slowly, carefully position it. So again, don't touch the foam pieces. To make sure that these ends align to the end of this rubber trim. So at this point, I'm gonna see how I can route this from the front, from the back here. Just gonna have a look how that wire looks like and how I'm gonna so there is this clip here extends to the back, so I've just routed it ahead and push that in. So now it's underneath there. So make sure it's, well, number one, make sure the cable is actually outside, which is here. There it is, right where we want it to be. So just hold that, because we also need to make sure that this cable here is on the right side, which is all the way there. Okay, cool. This one's lined up. Push it in until it's forward. Same with the other one. Okay, so we're just looking at the inside. So as you can see there on the right, that wire, black wire there, see the fabric tape just running along on the top there. So that's where it terminates. So I guess it's behind these ridges, but pretty happy. I think that should be okay. Don't think it would, hopefully would not interfere with any of the foam. It looks like it's okay, so I'm gonna close this up. So just to make sure that you're attaching it properly, these tabs here align to those clips inside. That tab goes into that clip, so it runs along the front here. So if you want to make sure that you're attaching it correctly, just have a look, push, and then you actually need to push this in. Make sure this is sort of aligned. Push this in. This one is aligned on this side, same as on the other side. And then once you're happy, just press this. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over to the other side and check that. So we're over on the other side. Again, see those clips, and there's another one right there. It's also flushed here. This one's sort of lined up and flush. So push that, and then just go to the other side. That's it. Pretty happy with that. So now you don't see the cable sticking out here. Much clearer, and it only sticks out in the middle here, which is can't do anything about, but at least it also doesn't stick around here, so it's much cleaner. The wire is here, so I'm just gonna tuck that all the way down there. Tuck the wires all the way through the inside this plastic panel here, and then from here you peel away this carpet from both the outside and the inside. Then thread it in through that gap, and then reach in from the inside, grab that connector so you can thread it through. And then from here, you just then need to pull enough of the wires so you get enough slack, and just tuck it underneath those carpet gaps until you reach the other side. And then from there, you have to repeat the same process. And again, it's a tight squeeze up at the top there. But for me, since I change mini instrument clusters all the time, I run it across the carpet and then just cover it up. Okay, so now let's remove this tape, because this is really meant for me to know where to terminate the wire underneath. So let's put that away, and it's really up to you where you want to position this. I can position it to the center, or I can position it off center. Because I have enough slack, I can also reach in. I can also reach in and remove it if I need to. If I need to do a firmware upgrade. But for now, I'm gonna put it right straight in the middle there. So I'm gonna push that in. And let's see, let's turn on the car, or wake the car up, and I can see it's working. It's not gonna have to close the door, but it looks like it's working. So now it's just a matter of attaching the cover at the ends. Just line up all those tabs, start from the bottom and push it in. Now do the same for the driver side. Difference for the driver side is you need to make sure that this wire doesn't go over these clips, otherwise it might damage the wire. So similar to the other side, just line it up starting from the bottom and push it in. And that's all I have for you in this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below or write me an email at autos.gizmos@gmail.com. And finally, if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. This will help YouTube improve their algorithm, making this video become available to other like-minded individuals, and at the same time, helping me grow this channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.